Hey guys, Danny here. I'm back with another video. Today we're looking at a drone. This was sent to me for review. Now this is probably one of the best drones I've tested in a while. One of the best toy grade drones for sure. So this has some interesting features. One of them being it has an adjustable camera which you can adjust remotely using the controller, and it works really well. I'll be showing you that later on. First of all, we're going to unbox this and take a look at it. I really like the design of this too. It has some interesting kind of like a silver finish around the motors. They are brushed motors, they're not brushless, and the arms are also slightly different. You can see I try and fold them out here, which is incorrect. They fold downwards and out. There is also these cool little rubber feet on the bottom which fold down, which is not something you see very often. The drone actually feels quite sturdy as well. It doesn't feel too light, and just the movement of the arms and the feel of the body itself, it does feel quite good quality. There's kind of like a soft finish to the main body on top of the drone, and here are the feet that I was telling you about on the side. You do have some lights underneath as well. You got your adjustable camera on the front. You can see here I actually move it with my hand, which I probably shouldn't do because I wasn't aware straight away that you can adjust it using the controller. It is also a wide angle camera, so you get quite a lot in shot when you're recording. I do prefer this because quite often the cameras are a bit too narrow and they don't record exactly what you want. So we also get a 7.4 volt 1000 milliamp hour battery. This drone also includes optical flow positioning, which basically means you have a downward facing camera which helps keep the drone stable when you're not using any of the controls. You can also record video directly to a micro SD, which I would definitely recommend because it removes the chances of FPV breakup, and I'll be showing you some of that footage later too. And of course our controller. This is a pretty standard model now that we see with quite a lot of drones. It is a tried and tested design. It works okay. It does have a phone holder built into the bottom. This one was a little bit weird at first. I couldn't get one side to pop out, but with a little bit of prying it did pop out eventually. I don't mind this style of controller. The buttons are labelled so they're nice and easy to know what you're using. There are also some bumper buttons on the top. There's two that adjust the angle of the camera, and there's also one for capturing photos and one for video. There is also an accessories pouch which includes 4 spare props, a USB charging cable, a little screwdriver, and also a micro SD adapter. The drone has an automatic takeoff button which I used at the start here, and then I just left it to hover in place to see how well the optical flow positioning worked, and you'll see it actually works really well. Throughout my whole test it performed pretty solidly, probably one of the best I've used in a budget drone. It does occasionally get a little bit confused and has to kind of drift a little bit before it finds its spot, but most of the time it's pretty solid. I'm now adjusting the camera, and kind of annoyingly every time you touch or hold the button it bleeps, which does get a little bit annoying, but it's a really nice feature to have and not something you see very often in budget drones. So it's a really nice feature to have, and it did enable me to get some really cool shots, so I do love this feature. I was also quite surprised how clear the Wi-Fi FPV feed is. If you blow it up on a full screen it would be pretty blurry, but on my phone it did seem quite clear and I didn't really get much breakup at all, which was nice. This drone is using 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi, so you won't get really long range on this drone, but you should get a decent maybe 60 to 80 meters. One thing that surprised me with this drone also was its rates. So it has 3 different speed settings, and on the highest it is really nippy, which I do prefer because quite often when I'm using these drones you do get a little bit bored of using the camera after a while, so having some high rates to throw this thing around is a lot of fun. So I really like this. Quite often in these camera drones they can be overly aggressive at trying to keep the drone stable, but this one you can throw it around quite a lot, and as soon as you take your hands off of the controls it will hover in place quite nicely. The drone does have a return to home button, but this is just a very basic feature which will fly back in the direction that you took off from, so it's not very reliable, and I didn't test it here because I didn't want to risk losing the drone, which has happened to me in the past. Here's a good example of why the adjustable camera is a really nice feature to have. I take the drone high up and then I point the camera downwards so I can see myself. This is something that stands out for me for this drone amongst a lot of others I've tested. This drone isn't cheap compared to some of those on offer, but across the board it seemed to perform quite well for me, so I do think the slightly higher price tag is worth it. If you want to pick one of these up, as always I'll have a link down in the description for you. I got about a 12.5 minute flight time, which isn't too bad. I would have liked more, but there are options to pick up extra batteries when you purchase this drone using the link below. The camera for me is slightly above average. It doesn't have great quality, but for the price this drone is selling for, I would say it's slightly better than some of the others that I've tested, and the main reason being is this wide angle. It really appeals to me because quite often I've been using drones in the past and the angle can be very narrow and you don't always get a lot of the shots that you want. So this is a big plus. I'm glad they put this wide angle on there, and having the adjustable camera also makes it just a lot more fun and easy to use. Overall, I think this is a really solid drone. It does a lot well, and I think you get quite a bit for your price in terms of features. The standout feature for me is definitely the adjustable camera, which is not something you often see. So if you're thinking of picking up this drone, I would recommend it. I think it's a great buy. As always, if you want to pick this up, I'll put a link down in the description for you. I really hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing for more videos like this one. And of course, I will see you in the next one.